Today I'm gonna explain to you why you are not making gains. So, there is a lot of controversy around this topic. So in this video I'm not gonna discuss exercise selection or volume or effort, intensity basically. And I'm definitely not gonna address nutrition, because if you have a shitty nutrition, then you can build muscle regardless. That should not be the goal. You should still have a elimination diet. When you eliminate a lot of shit food, junk food, processed food, all of this. But you can still build muscle regardless if you get enough protein in. So I'm not gonna discuss all of this stuff. What I'm gonna discuss is time. And as we know it, time is the main compounder over time, obviously. No fucking shit. Mainly, I'm making this video mainly because of the exercise selection part that I have here. And a lot of people like to talk about optimal, non-optimal exercises. You should do only pull-ups for back because they are time tested, right? They are old school and they look cool and you move a lot of weight. That's fine. And the other group says that, okay, single arm iliac pull downs, or what the fuck it's called, I don't know. And they say that it's optimal, rotating around the body, and you can and you can have a way better stretch on it, and that it's also cool. So what is the real reason you are not making progress with neither? And the reason is time. Because unless you stick to either pull-ups or either one arm single cable iliac pull downs, or what the fuck they are called, I don't even know. If you can't stick to it, you are not gonna make progress in it, and that should be pretty straightforward. If you are not consistent in what you do, regardless if it works your back, both of these works your back, right? But if you are changing your exercises every month or every week, because I did that, I used to do that, I used to be the guy who program hubbed, right? I didn't make gains, and the reason was because I was changing my exercises way too often. So it's not about the exercise selection, but you should choose an exercise and you should stick to it. And that is time, basically, because time compounds your efforts. If you are training insanely, intensely, you're not gonna make that much progress, regardless if you were to not train as hard, but you stick to the shit that you have to stick to. And that's when patience comes into the game, right? Because in order for you to stick with exercises, what I found on myself is that it's really hard for me to stick with exercises if I continue to watch fitness YouTube. So what a lot of people do is they get into the gym, they get obsessed with the gym, right? And they start watching a lot of fitness YouTube, a lot of good or bad content creators. It doesn't fucking matter. The point is that you're consuming all of this content, which is, after a certain point, it's not gonna be beneficial, right? You're not gonna gain any huge wisdom, because time is gonna always beat all of these optimal exercises if you can't stick to them. So by learning a lot of new stuff, you won't really make much progress. Obviously, you have to learn the basics, and that's not what I'm talking about. But you most likely know the basics. You know what works your back. You know that you should train intensely. You should get close to failure. You should get 10 to 20 sets per week per muscle group, right? You know all of this bullshit. The problem for you is you can't stick with your specific exercises, and you can't stick with the frequency. You are not consistent you're not consistent with the gym. And even if you are consistent, even if you are going every day, you are basically changing the way you work out every single day. And by the way, that's fine. I enjoy doing that, but that's not gonna lead you to optimal muscle gains, because you have to have consistency in both your action of going to the gym, but also your exercises that you do in the gym, right? And that's when patience comes into the way. because we must develop patience. The best definition that I can give you about patience is figuring out what to do in the meantime. So that's not gonna fucking work. So you have to figure out to do something in the meantime. And that's why, for example, a business can come into the play, because by consuming fitness YouTube, you are not gonna make further progress, and neither does business. Neither does working on a business, right? But you are occupied in the rest of the day, and you are not forced to watch fitness YouTube, and you are not consuming content which based on you can change your training. And obviously you don't want to change your training, you want to stick to a exercise schedule. And that's why working on a business is really huge. It's important to be occupied by something, preferably work, because work is gonna make you money, and then you can buy the better food, obviously. But the nutrition itself for muscle building is not really that much important. You need to get your protein in, and some carbs and some fats for hormonal health, and carbs for the energy, and protein for the muscle itself. That's all important, but the specific nutrition quality is not as important when it comes to building muscle. It's more important in fat loss, obviously, but the benefits are gonna come out when you are trying to do something cognitively demanding, for example, a business. And that's when your nutrition will be in place instantly, because, for example, what are good foods that are gonna increase your cognition? Eggs, clean food, not unprocessed carbs, not unprocessed, but minimally processed carbs, minimally processed foods, complex carbs, some healthy foods, micronutrients that are gonna increase your cognitive abilities and your focus and all of this shit. And you can still build muscle, that obviously, but you will have to cut out all of the fluffy shitty foods that you would consume, for example, on a bulk. And by the way, you can still eat normally in a bulk. You don't have to eat fucking cheesecakes all day in order to meet your calories. You are just making excuses if you do that. You are just making an excuse to eat shit food because it feels good. It gives you dopamine. Ooh, I feel good. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling satisfied, and then you don't even recognize the damage that has been done to your cognitive abilities through that. So by working on a business, for example, or studies, or anything, you are occupying yourself for the rest of the day, unless you other than working out. So you gotta have patience, and that way you're not gonna be really thinking about that much about your training, and that is gonna be good, obviously, because then you are not gonna changing the exercises. You need to have good effort, obviously. You need to have exercises for all of your body, basically every body part. But you don't want to change it, you want to stick to something. So that's why I think you are not making progress, because you can't stick to one exercise, and it's problematic, because then you can't really apply progressive overload, because you are just changing your fucking exercises all day, and can't really measure your progress, and can't really make progress in anything, because the shit you do always changes, and you should not do that. I hope you got some value from this video. See you soon.